Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole and it's by user OKPhil9913. Am I the a-hole for telling my brother-in-law he can't come to Disneyland with my family? I'm on a throwaway because I'm active in other groups on my main. The brother-in-law, Jim in question, is the husband of my sister, Sally. Jim and Sally have a 70-year-old daughter, Daisy. Daisy was born with a neurological disorder that is pretty severe. She is nonverbal, experiences development delays, and is unable to walk or take care of herself physically. This has been hard on Jim and Sally, completely understandably. Me and my husband have a daughter, Poppy, 5. Sally and I have had a more distant relationship since she was born, because Sally admitted she finds it hard to be around Poppy as she is healthy and developing normally. We were close as a foursome when Poppy was a baby, but since she was about 2, Sally has been quite absent. I don't blame her for this at all. She has her hands full. I'm just saying this to point out that it's not a case of us hanging out as one big family. But while Sally has been distant, Jim has been a really present uncle. He comes to Poppy's ballet recitals and has stepped in to give Poppy rides when my husband has been out of town and I've had a scheduling conflict with pickup or extracurriculars. He chaperoned her birthday parties and even gotten tickets to things she's liked over the years. It was ice shows for a while, the ballet, etc. There's been moments where it's been a bit annoying. Jim offering opinions on parenting or wanting to come over on weekends where it's not even a family event. But generally, we've appreciated his involvement because I always envisioned extended family being active in Poppy's life. That's part of why we live close to family. He's a good guy and he gets on really well with my husband. I just want to add here, because I know that often on here people just assume the worst possible conclusion. Jim is a good guy and I have no worries about anything untoward happening. He doesn't shower Poppy with gifts or ask for alone time with her. She's a precocious little girl who knows her boundaries and has very loose lips. Can't keep a secret from either me or my husband to save her life. It's not a safety issue I'm concerned about here. Now, about a week ago, I was talking to Jim casually about Poppy's birthday. We're doing a family dinner with aunts, uncles, and grandparents, and how we were thinking of taking her to Disneyland as one of her presents. We've put it off this long because both my husband and I are really bad with crowds and lines, and actually aren't big on kid stuff in general, so this is kind of our worst nightmare. But Poppy's best friend went last summer, and she hasn't stopped talking about it. So it's probably time to just suck it up and go. I joked about this to Jim and he floated the idea of him coming with us on the trip. He said he'd pay for himself, of course, but that way he could take Poppy on some of the rides and we'd be able to get a break. I said no thanks, because as much as I love Jim, I just don't want to go on a vacation with him. I don't know if maybe I'm being a bit of a jerk saying that. Jim was kind of trying to convince me, but eventually let up on it and we moved on in the conversation. Sally later called me, which is unusual. I don't hear much from her. She asked me if I would reconsider letting Jim come to Disneyland. She said both she and Jim get extremely depressed about the parts of parenthood they're missing out on, and it really helps Jim's mental health to be a little bit a part of Poppy's life. I know this to be true, Jim has said it. She said it's not any cost to me to just let him come along and be an extra pair of hands, considering I'm dreading going anyway. I said I just wanted this trip to be the 3 of us, and Sally asked why, and I don't really have a good reason, I'll admit. She said Poppy loves Jim. She does. He's a classic fun uncle, and this would be beneficial for everyone if he goes with us. I felt like she kind of implied that having a connection to my family is a part of the reason Jim is able to stay in his situation. I said I'd think about it. Then she went to my mom, who is now sort of on her side. She's not pushing, just saying I should seriously consider it. I know I don't have a good reason for saying no, but I just don't want him to come. Does that make me the a-hole? No, Opie, it doesn't, and you actually gave your sister the best reason. Because you wanted to just be a trip for the 3 of you. Poppy loves Jim, you guys love Jim, but there are boundaries, and sometimes it's just nuclear family time. On a different note, I think this whole thing that being part of Poppy's life is the only way that he can stay in this situation, it's a very odd thing to say, and I would say very unhealthy. It sounds like he's using a relationship with Poppy as a proxy for what he's missing out, and if he doesn't get it, then what, he's gonna leave the marriage, abandon his kid? I think your sister and Jim need some help dealing with this, and it's not fair to you guys that they're dumping this on you this way. So no, OP, I don't think you're the a-hole. Just tell your sister, I'm sorry, but no, it's a nuclear family trip, and that's that. End of conversation. And what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section, and now let's check out the community comments. Apart ad 6518 says, not the a-hole. I can empathize. Sister-in-law may be right, but that isn't on you, and wanting a holiday with just the three of you is totally okay. Your mom shouldn't be weighing in either. It's your choice what you do. Perimental Pause says, not the a-hole. Jim is using Poppy as a replacement daughter. That really sucks for Sally and Daisy, to be honest. The fact everyone's okay with this feels really weird to me. Jim is the uncle through marriage. He's not your brother, so no, it's not weird that you don't want to bring your sister's husband solo on a trip to Disneyland with you, your husband and your daughter. Quote, we're going as a core family unit. This is our family and we need to find our pattern that works for us without needing to rely on other family members to make our lives work together. Poppy's getting older, and while she loves Jim and we appreciate him, he's not her father. She has one. He's her uncle, and we need to make more core memories for our family that doesn't always circle around her uncle. We love her too. We might not be great at kid-themed stuff, but that doesn't mean we don't love our daughter. End quote. You might also want to look at starting to establish boundaries. Jim needs to focus on his own family. Everyone being okay with him using Poppy as a pseudo-daughter when she has two living parents is questionable. He's going to worm his way in more, and there will come instances for school and life that are daddy-daughter themed, and I bet Jim's going to feel inclined to step in. This needs to stop before that happens. And Opie responds, of course we don't allow him to do anything as a father figure with her, as her dad is involved. But so far, we've both been okay with him being involved in her life. Poppy also has two very involved grandfathers and a grandmother. We look at it as just more people who love her. But yeah, I absolutely don't want to open the door only for Jim to start acting like he's some kind of co-parent and has to be included in everything. Fun Explanation 6410 says, 100% not the a-hole, and no one should judge you for not wanting an extra person on your family trip. No explanation needed. It does sound like you have a pretty wonderful family, regardless of the current issue. I admire Jim's support and Sally's openness about it being hard to be with a normal child. I went through something similar with my own. I hope Disneyland turns out to be better than expected. And Opie responds, yeah, everyone is just trying their best, and that's why I worried I was being a bit of a villain in this scenario. Because Jim's a good person and Sally is too. They're just struggling. And I feel like maybe because we're not as much, we owe it to make things a bit easier where we can. But it's hard to know where the line is sometimes. And Brzusk says, not the a-hole. From what you've said, it seems like he's abandoned his own kid, and maybe that's the reason your sister has been distanced. She sees her husband want to be involved in your kid's life more than his own kid, so she's left trying to do it on her own. And Dopey responds, I don't think that's why Sally has been distant. She's been honest about it being hard to watch Poppy grow up and share milestones. She needs space for her mental health. Jim is the opposite. He copes by being connected, I guess. Opie's edit. For anyone wondering if Jim spends time with Daisy to give Sally a break, yes he does. He and Sally alternate evenings after work looking after Daisy so the other can maintain a social life and have a breather. They also alternate weekends. Sally just chooses to spend her breaks seeing her friends and doing self-care activities. The community agrees Opie is not the a-hole and that boundaries need to be drawn. So now let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. I'm back. I wasn't sure if I was going to update, but I felt like everyone who was kind enough to weigh in deserved some closure. Thank you to everyone who commented. It really helped to get some perspective here. Main update, Jim is not coming to Disney. It actually ended up being Sally who put the kibosh on it. She thought that if Jim was coming as an extra adult, that we'd be paying for him. So when she found out that Jim would have been paying for his own travel and room, she vetoed the trip. I wanted to have a conversation with her about how it was wrong to pressure me to take him in the first place, but that seemed petty when the situation had resolved itself anyway. But then Sally said unprompted that she was sorry she pushed. She said she and Jim aren't really parents, they're basically care workers, and she's let go of wanting to be a mom, but Jim still desperately wants to be a dad to someone, and even if she thinks it's kind of pathetic, she needs him to stick around because she can't be on her own. She said they're both trying to make life as easy as they can for the other so no one doesn't leave. She shared that the reason she was even okay with him thinking about going to Disney is because she's been drinking and partying a lot on her evenings off and has come home drunk and angry, and she feels embarrassed about Jim having to deal with it, on top of her overspending on going out. She felt like if she could give him this Disney thing, it would make up for it. I felt even worse at that point, but I just said we couldn't always fill the gaps, which she understood. I did offer to meet up and talk more, but Sally said even though she felt guilty for us not being close, she couldn't help the fact that she just didn't enjoy talking to me anymore. She said seeing me get the life we both wanted hurts, and we have nothing in common. I'm still a little bit crushed by that. My husband and I did sit down with Jim though. We said we'd really appreciate that Jim is an active part of Poppy's life, but we are her only parents, and there's going to be a lot of times when extended family isn't going to be included in our nuclear bubble. We asked if Jim was ready for that. He was honest and said it was probably going to hurt, but he also never expected to be a third parent to Poppy. Jim was honest and said he didn't grow up in an affluent family. I knew this, but not the extent of it. And Disney was one of those experiences he always dreamt of having with his child when he became a dad. He said he kind of got wrapped up in maybe having the opportunity to have that moment, but he was embarrassed by how big this whole thing got because Poppy was never even his kid. We ended up suggesting that instead of him always coming to our place, he'd take Poppy one Saturday a month to do an activity, something they could do together and bond over, so he could still be a part of her development in a real way, but that also wasn't just him hanging around like an extra set of hands. He seemed to think that was a good idea, so we're getting our Disney trip, just the three of us. In hindsight, I wish we'd picked a different moment to set boundaries because we probably could have used the extra help for the trip, but I think we made the right decision. And Jim even agreed that he needs to spend his time out of the house doing more than just hanging out with us. I did pull him aside to recommend therapy, but it's not in the budget at the moment, which I understand. I did also mention to him that Sally seems to be really struggling, but I believe him when he says they're both doing as much as they can to stay afloat mentally. And in case anyone was wondering, a few people offered some really helpful advice about booking Disney. I did manage to get into contact with a customer liaison person at Disney to help with the booking stuff. We're waiting to see what they come back with regarding places to stay and line skipping options. But I'm also glad to not be doing it on my own. Thanks again to everyone who commented. I hope this satisfies all the people asking for updates. Smiley face. Well, OP, I think it's the best outcome for you and your family. I'm not so sure what's going to happen with Jim and your sister. And the way your sister's handling this whole thing, like she just doesn't want to talk to you anymore because you get the life you both wanted. I don't know. I am sympathetic about her situation. It must be very difficult. But it does seem a bit selfish to just push people away because they have something you don't. Anyways, I hope she gets the help she needs. In the meantime, OP, here's wishing you and your family the best. Take care and thanks for sharing. And now, let's move on to the next post that also has an update. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole, and it's by user WearyBumblebee7990. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister that our bio dad isn't my dad, and if she can't accept that, maybe she isn't my sister either? My bio dad has been dead since I was a baby. I have zero memories of him, and for a good amount of my childhood, I had no father figure. Sure, my mom and my siblings told me stories about him, but that isn't the same as actually knowing someone. When I was 11, my mom married Jim, fake name. He became my father figure while my sister only tolerated him. This is when my relationship with my sister and I started to fall apart. She has always been mad about me replacing dad. She would make me feel bad about thinking as him as my father figure and that I was betraying bio dad. Our relationship got better after she went to college. The issue is, I was looking through old photos with my mom, and we saw a few of my bio dad at the theme park with my siblings. Apparently, before he died, he would do little theme park trips with the kids. I asked Jim if we could go to the theme park and have some pictures. He agreed, and we went this weekend. I had a great time and posted some pictures on Instagram. My sister didn't take it well. We got into an argument. She claims I have been betraying Bio Dad, and basically, how dare I do something that Bio Dad did with them, but with Jim. I pointed out that I see Jim as my dad, that I literally call him dad. It went on for a while, and she told me I was being a bad daughter for replacing him. I had enough and told her that our bio dad ain't my dad, that dad is Jim, and if she can't accept that, then maybe she ain't my sister either. She went to my other siblings, and I am basically being told to apologize. I don't want to. I am sick of her making me feel bad that I think of Jim as my dad, and I don't even remember Bio Dad at all. It wasn't even the same theme park. The one we went to opened last year. Well, Opie, no, I don't think you're the a-hole. Your sister just fed you up. I absolutely understand that she misses her dad. She's still grieving, and maybe she needs some grief counseling, but she can't take it out on you for you wanting to have a relationship with Jim. She got to do things with her dad that you didn't get to. It's a completely different relationship. She knew him. You didn't. With good reason, she is attached to the memories of her dad, and in her mind, you doing something different is betraying him, which is absolutely wrong, and it's why she needs grief counseling. So no, Opie, you're not the a-hole. And what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section, and now let's check out the community comments. Scorpion Mitten says, everybody sucks here. Even though you didn't include ages, it's clear that your siblings are older and they do remember your bio dad. She's wrong to police your relationship with Jim and say that you're replacing bio dad, but you're being insensitive to the fact that she lost her father. Telling her that he isn't your dad and she isn't your sister is illogical and clearly just meant to be hurtful. Zesty Clothes Height 36 says, not the a-hole. You don't remember Bio Dad, and they should be happy you have Jim as a dad. They are being selfish, thinking you should go through life isolating yourself over a man you don't remember. They should be happy you have Jim in your life. He sounds great. And Dude84 says, you didn't replace your biological father. He passed away, and he passed away when you were a baby and likely have no memory of him. I assume your sister and older siblings remember him and remember the theme park trips. I'm sure it's more difficult to think of another father figure because their memory is much stronger. It's an emotionally charged issue for any family to navigate, and it's understandable that they have strong feelings on the matter. But you're definitely not the a-hole to view Jim as your father, and you shouldn't feel the need to apologize. And just because there is a new male in your siblings' lives does not mean he's trying to replace their father. Maybe someday they'll come to view him that way as well. Maybe their emotional scarring and their memory won't ever allow that. But thinking of Jim as your father doesn't do anything to diminish your biological father who passed away. I'm sorry you and your siblings had to deal with this from such a young age. The community is in between everybody sucks and not the a-hole. So now, let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. I talked to my grandma and she helped me come up with a list about all the times my sister made me feel bad for having a relationship with Jim. It was pretty long and I have decided to take a step back from that relationship. I am tired of feeling bad for having a father figure. I should not have to hide that I like my dad or be screamed at because I made him a Father's Day card. Happened multiple times and she even ripped one of them up. I hope my sister gets the help she needs, but I am done. She is 22 and should not be screaming at me over this. My relationship with him doesn't affect her at all. For everyone thinking this was spite, it really wasn't. It was me living my life, and I don't wish to walk on glass around her anymore. I should be able to go on a dad and daughter day and post about it without being screamed at. You're absolutely right, Opie. That is the healthy decision. Your sister definitely has some issues that she needs to work through. And no, screaming at you about how you live your life is not a way to do that. So hopefully she does get the help that she needs. In the meantime, Opie, enjoy your relationship with Jim. It sounds like a good one. So here's wishing you both the best. Take care and thanks for sharing. And now let's finish this video with a mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Petty Revenge and it's by user Deleted. Ice Cream Man stiffed my kid. My kid ran outside to get an ice cream from the ice cream man. Kiddo returned a little sad. I asked what was wrong. She said, I asked the ice cream man for my change. He gave me this lollipop and drove off before I could say anything. My kid doesn't like lollipops. Even if she did, it wouldn't have been a fair trade, not by a long shot. Anyway, I drove over to Costco and bought a few boxes of ice cream bars. For the next few weeks, my kid shared ice cream with all of the kids on our side of the neighborhood. My kid made some new friends, and none of our side of the neighborhood bought from the ice cream man during that time. Unintended side effect? When we ran out, other parents started chipping in and provided snacks for the kids who played outside. And that's how a petty revenge turned into a neighborhood thing. Nicely done, OP. Thanks for sharing. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.